Join us over the course of this year for our Look We series as we spotlight familiar and perhaps not so familiar sights and sounds of Antigua and Barbuda and publish updates on the Antigua and Barbuda ICH project. In today's edition, George Odlum's delivery of the eulogy at the state funeral of Leonard Hector. Location ARG, November 2002.
Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Were you there? Were you there when they dragged him to the cart? Were you there?
Ladies and gentlemen, reflections from a friend, the former Foreign Minister of St. Lucia, Mr. George Odlum.
I come to bury Hector, not to praise him. As you lie there, motionless and still, in your fine, resplendent mahogany casket, I cannot help but feel a sense of mockery that the same society which vilified and ridiculed you when your strident voice embarrassed them with your message and your clarion call is the same society that will embrace and elevate you now that your mighty heart is lying still. Where is the logic in this, my brother? Are we so crazed with insecurity and self-abnegation that we court our own disaster and demise by destroying the catalyst for our liberation? When Othello in Shakespeare murdered his own loving Desdemona, Shakespeare wrote, "Like a base Indian, he threw away a pearl richer than all his tribe." Today, as I contemplate your mortality, brother, I cannot suppress the insistent feeling that the people of Antigua, and to a lesser extent, the people of the Caribbean, have thrown away a pearl richer than all their tribe. This is a serious accusation to make against a society that had turned out in large numbers to pay homage to this dead Viking. But many of you stood by over the years and witnessed the victimization and demoralization of Tim Hector and never lifted a finger to prevent it. Were you there? Were you there when they crucified Tim Hector? Were you there? Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Were you there? Were you there when they dragged him to the cart? Were you there? Were you there when they dumped him in prison for his views? Were you there? Were you there when they burnt his printing press? Were you there? Were you there when they murdered his dear wife, Sarah? Were you there? Were you there when the ballot process was contaminated to declare him a loser? Were you there? Were you there when they denied this prophet any honor in his own country? Were you there? My brother, you have loved too much to have suffered so much in a society that you devoted your life to change for a people that you love so much. But there's no room for regret in the straitened confines of your coffin, because love is the revolutionary's credo. And if we must reach for Walcott again, love is the stone speech that outlives both ash and mourning. Love is the stone speech that outlives both ash and mourning.
Look, we